yeah, so I tried to incorporate some of the things that I've learned in the action of the comics, and I'd like ask my friends, which I had a classmate that he was into Muay Thai, and his name is Carlo Arellano, and he was actually the one who influenced me to take up Muay Thai now. It's because he influenced most of the action scenes in the comics in Combatron. So I'd consult him, like, how would this punch go if it really, like, if it had an uppercut and then straight with an elbow and then back to an uppercut, would it be possible? Yeah, if you're like fucking a cybernetic, yeah, maybe. Excuse the language. Is that allowed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This show is not for kids. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Tama po suot ko.
Oo nga
Ah,
pala.
yeah. Para sa maraming mga batang 90s na lumaki nung panahon na yun, para din sa mga fan ng comics sa Pilipinas, matagal na namin iniintay itong episode na to. Isang kabanata na ang ka-feature ay isang si Mang Berlin Manalaysay, tagagawa ng Combatron, minamahal na comics ng bayan. Batang 90s Kaway. Pasensya na po, hindi ko po alam kung ano nangyari. Welcome, guys. This is the June and Paul show. I think the other thing too is baka nagkaroon ng pagkakamali ako dahil we had daylight savings time here.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
we went back and out. I'm sorry. I think that's the reason na nagkaroon ng time discrepancy. I'm sorry if everybody's staying up late, but I've been looking forward to this interview for more than 2 months now dahil para po sa mga batang 90s, even din yung iba batang 80s na lumaki ng partly in the 90s, you were a big part of our childhood. And the whole time, pupunta kami sa mga comic stands sa Pilipinas and antabayanan yung funny comics, and we didn't know at the time that you were also a kid. You were really young when you created your most famous work.
Yeah, 17.
Yeah, so you were just in high school, basically just finished high school, right? You're just starting college.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't know that the whole
Yes.
time. So welcome guys. This is a very special episode of June and Paul show. As you know, we have a lot more viewers in Facebook than we do in YouTube for one reason or another, because Filipinos, that's their more communication is more Facebook. So we get thousands of views in Facebook, but
Still, yeah,
not so
still.
much in YouTube, you know. Kaya ako po kayo gustong i-interview dahil yung work nyo, obviously we are our arnis channel, Filipino martial arts channel, Kali Arnis Eskrima. May pagka-interface po ng always ng Filipino martial arts ang ating comic book industry, just because, like, you know, most of the people a lot of people don't know this sa lumaki sa Pilipinas. There was at one time had a very rich Filipino comics tradition. And unfortunately, parang kamukha lang ng brain drain, with engineers and nurses. A lot of them were imported overseas. Particularly, you had the Polish wave and the Filipino wave. Yung mga dating nagdodrawing sa Liwayway, sina nga mga Nestor Redondo, and then they all came here. Mang Alex Nino is a friend of mine. Here in
Okay.
the US. So kung lumaki kayo nagbabasa kayo ng Panday and you watch Mulan, for example, for reason, the animated one, Mang Alex is the one who did the
The
concept
legends.
art for that. And I saw the
Yeah.
original, the papers. I was showing it one time in one of the studios. Um,
Oh, okay.
so the thing is, gusto ko po malaman kasi nung lumalaki kayo, parang kayo yung generation 1.5 or 2 generations after those, right? Because they were the 60s and 70s guys. Paano po niyo
Yeah.
nasimulan yung inyong career sa industriya ng komikero, ng comics?
Oh, what it started because I'm my neighbor was the writer and creator of Nick Nook, which is Pat V. Reyes.
Kaibigan niyo po
Yes,
yung gumawa ng Nick Nock?
yes. Neighbor ko siya at yung best friend ko is yung anak niya, si Michael Oñate, which was the one who created Little Ninja
Kasi
and
parang
Tomas
yung
and
generation
Colas.
po niya, yung pagkatapos ni na Mang Alex and Mang Nestor,
Yeah.
essentially, right? And because basically
Yes.
there was them, he was the bridge generation, and then followed you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Cheers.
so cheers po. Pasensya na late tayo sa ating interview. I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you. I'll make it up to you. I'll give a shout out.
No, it's
Magkakaroon po
okay.
ako
It's
ng
okay.
panel sa Los Angeles Comic Con this weekend, and I will
Wow, that's cool.
I'll
That's
advertise
cool.
you. So
That's cool.
so nung pong na-approach kayo, matagal na po kayong nagdo-drawing, no? So obviously you started when you were 17 when it got printed, but when did you first did your first doodle, had your own style? Because
Oh yeah.
when we see your art, Combatron is very unique. Like we know right away pag nakita namin yung drawing, oh, gawa ni Berlin Manalaysay yan. So explain like how you started when
Mhm.
you were a younger kid.
Oh yeah. It started because I was a kid undiagnosed with ADHD. So sobrang kulit ako, and the only thing that will make me like behave is pen and paper, which my mom gave me. And sa ano yon, sa simbahan. I was the kid that everyone hated because I was like running all around the church, and that's the only thing that will make me stop. Pen and paper. So I draw, and then ayun, I discovered that I like drawing, and coincidentally when we transferred into Quezon City, naging neighbor ko nga is the creator of Nick Nook, which is Pat V. Reyes, and I became best friends with her son, which is Michael Oñate, na sobrang galing din mag-drawing. So we hit it off. So both of us would, we were doodling, drawing stuff. Then um it was first he was the one who was working for Funny Comics, Michael Oñate, doing Tomas and Colas
Yeah.
for Funny Comics. For those who don't know what Funny Comics is, it was the in comics thing during our time during the 80s, and it was just like 4 pesos. It was a collection of different stories, different artists, different writers, um, and it's sold in the newsstands every Friday. So sobrang hit yun sa mga kids, and it was my dream to like, wow, I hope one day I could just you know draw for Funny Comics. So my friend, yun nga, invited me to, hey, mag-drawing ka kahit one pager lang for Funny Comics. And I did a one pager which was the son of Godzilla. So it's a dinosaur that raps, because that time I I I loved Francis Magalona, God rest his soul. Idol ko yun eh, si Francis. So I wanted to have a dinosaur that was as cool as him. He was rapping but a dinosaur, para cute, And then there was a 4-page, no, a 3-page available in Funny Comics because I think Vida Escoriaga, which was the one who was drawing Superdog, worked overseas. I think for ano pa nga eh, Disney pa yata siya nag-work. I don't know if my facts are right, but that's how I heard it back then when I was offered the 3-pager for Funny Comics. And then the editor, my editor that time, which is Rose Corre, asked if I can do something of a Astro Boy type of character, which was r- a joy to me because I loved Astro Boy. So Combatron is actually an influence of all the things that I loved during that time when I was asked to create a character. And that time meant I was playing Rockman and I never slept. I just played video games nung time na yun. Syempre, what else can a teenager do? So those were my influences. I put it in Combatron's character, Rockman or Mega Man, if you're Sega or Nintendo, whatever it is, fused with Astro Boy, fused with Batman, fused with Iron Man, fused with Voltes 5, and all wrestling and rock stuff, rock and roll stuff. And hence yun, Combatron yung naging product. If you're asking about my style, one of the fans actually coined it Pinoy manga nga daw. It's because it's a influence of Pinoy comics, the old style Pinoy comics and manga, which was an influence of most of the artists when I was illustrating.
Yun nga ang pagkapansin because so let me just translate para sa mga Philam na hindi nakakaalam. Kanina nung sinabi niya na he's a big fan of Francis Magalona, he's basically the premier rapper in the Philippines.
Oh,
Parang siya si Eminem, right? And
yep.
the way that the Combatron is drawn, may pagka super chibi where he had
Yeah.
the big head. And the thing that
Yeah, the
I
big head.
really found fascinating with you is obviously you put influences of Transformers there too, because
Yes, yes, definitely,
you had
definitely.
the robot that was the size of a planet. He was almost like Galvatron, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
I love the fact
It
that
was
you
five
had,
planets.
yeah, and you had death
Yeah,
metal references. Yeah, because you're a fan of
yes,
metal music, I'm guessing. Because in your background, I could tell that's the outline of death metal, which is kind
yes,
of like the villain slash really more like an anti-hero.
yeah.
Yeah,
A
of
frenemy.
yeah, frenemy of Combatron of Empoy. So
Yeah,
I really love that because you could tell right away because the way that his stature is so unique. I could tell right away watching that. It's like, oh, that's death metal. Like, just
yeah,
seeing the outline, right? Which was kind of the
yeah.
one of the
It's a
more
work in progress. I'm going to painting right now, doing
it,
one-offs.
is one of the more memorable anti-hero characters ever written in probably Filipino comics, of all
Thank you
time.
very much. It's because I really love this character. And the influences that I have with death metal is because I watch wrestling, WWE
Right?
during my
And
time,
and and, and your time was the
and
golden age. Because when you were a kid,
yes, yes,
you had like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior.
and
Yeah.
this the inspiration for death metal is the Undertaker, which is my favorite wrestler. And so when I saw this guy, it's just that I said that I have to have a version of Undertaker with a robot Undertaker.
Now,
So that's why this guy
now
was born.
that's my question. How does the interface of martial arts meld with your creation and with Combatron? Because titingnan mo si Combatron, meron siyang espada, meron siyang punyal, right?
Yeah.
And then it can change, length. And how did the FMA in there? How did your Muay Thai, Muay Boran experience come in? So explain that. So sorry.
Well, actually, when I was doing Combatron, I wasn't yet not into MMA or into martial arts. It's actually a friend of mine, which was Michelangelo Andaya, which I created a character which was the friend of Combatron. I turned him into Axel. He was the one that has galactic martial arts abilities
Yeah, yeah.
because
He's
he was
he's the he's
into
in the green armor. He's my favorite character.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that my friend was into what's the Korean martial arts? Taekwondo. So he was into Taekwondo, and um, I was into uh, kind of street boxing during that time because my dad was always telling me that if he didn't become a lawyer, he was going to be a boxer. And my dad fought amateur fights
I,
during his time.
I fought amateur and smokers here.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did?
yeah,
Cool, cool.
yeah. That's cool.
So
Where in the Philippines
so
saan po kayo lumaki?
Manila, Manila talaga. My dad is from Batang, and so I was, and then in college, I that's where I got my sort of intro to martial arts, which was in UST. Presas taught the arnis,
Yeah,
so he
so
taught.
so we have to we have to kind of rewind here, right?
Okay.
We have to explain this for the people who didn't grow up in the Philippines. And that's my experience with my folks too.
Oh
Yung
yeah, yeah.
Presas
Okay.
brothers, they did modern Ernest. Unfortunately, they had their own
Yes.
enmities and they went their separate ways. But Ernesto, he had a training program that he worked with the Filipino government. And so they were, teaching in different colleges. The premier, I think, was first Lyceum, I believe, and then it was UST. My dad was the second
Yeah.
class that he ever taught because in UST that would have been around like 75 or 76 or something. And then he did that for a better part of
Oh,
what, like a decade and a half or something like that, somewhere around there,
okay.
right? So
Oh,
nung tinuruan kayo, that was like late 80s, early 90s or something.
yeah.
Ang kasama
So
niya, so
then I
just for the FMA people that are watching the show, yung kasama niya in that would have been like GM Rene Tongson, I think Bambit Dulay.
yes, that guy.
Yeah, yeah. So you remember, right? You remember. So Bambit
Yeah,
Dulay, GM Rene.
yeah.
There's a couple others I'm missing. I think De Leon, I believe. De La Cruz. Um, yeah. So continue, sir. I'm sorry. I'm just because people in the FMA community, people in the
Okay.
FMA community
Yeah.
are watching this, so I have to, you know what I mean?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, so I tried to incorporate some of the things that I've learned in the action of the comics, and I'd like ask my friends, which I had a classmate that he was into Muay Thai, and his name is Carlo Arellano, and he was actually the one who influenced me to take up Muay Thai now. It's because he influenced most of the action scenes in the comics in Combatron. So I'd consult him like, how would this punch go if it really like if it had an uppercut and then straight with an elbow and then back to an uppercut, would it be possible? Yeah, if you're like fucking a cybernetic, yeah, maybe. Excuse the language. Is that allowed?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. This show is not for kids. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Tama po suot ko.
Oo nga
Uh,
pala.
yeah.
But you're not drinking.
No.
You
It's only
only have
5:30 in the
pulutan.
morning here po.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know, I know,
Yeah.
I know. No.
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
sorry. Well,
Yeah.
it's
Mamaya,
late here,
mamaya.
so yeah.
Mamaya, mamaya.
Okay.
So ano po, so I did so yun yung gusto kong, matutunan kasi nung nanonood ako nung bata ako, obviously I was just beginning my martial journey in arnis because I was a kid.
Okay.
Now, looking at it as an adult, talagang meron palang FMA influence ang Combatron. So that tum ano, tumataba ang puso ko. We're proud na Pinoy na may
Well, it
arnis.
has to. Yeah, it has
Yeah.
to because I wouldn't want, like, for people to like think like, okay, he did an uppercut and then he did an elbow. That's kind of impossible. So I'd like the dynamics to be like sort of realistic. And what I like about it is like, I also had to integrate some Filipino flavor in the weaponry, and that's why they have the yo-yo and the slingshot, which is
So can I address some
mostly
of our viewers because one of your trainers is actually watching our show right now. So see GM Rene,
really who
GM Rene Thompson just gave us a heart in the comment section. So that feels good. And then then one
is
of the
Mark
students,
watching?
yeah,
Oh,
he's watching. So one of the students of GM Ernesto Presas is also watching. He says GM Ernesto Presas Senior is the PE instructor in UST. Tapos
yeah.
ito namang isang Calis Illustrisimo practitioner na who is a sous chef. Nice. Sinasabi ko nga ba si Undertaker ang inspiration eh. Kasabay yata ng Combatron yung Force One Animax if I'm not mistaken. Nice, Rockman. So those are the comments that we've been getting so far. So
Yeah.
continue po. I'm sorry. Because I have to address our
Yeah.
viewers. So
So yeah, and then I incorporated the Filipino traditional weaponry, which was the slingshot, which I liked to use when I was a kid, and the yo-yo, which was
sa Tondo, ang tawag namin yung combat pana. And then we would like use the railroad spike as the yun yung aming yung arrow.
oh yeah, and then you'd put a hook
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
end,
yeah.
right?
So, sometimes what
Oh,
we would do
that's
is
kind
like
of
obviously
deadly.
you put excrement in it, and then sometimes also me, I'm fancy. Ako yung social, I put antifreeze in there. Para pag tinamaan ka, hindi maghihilom yung sugat mo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, but continue,
Wow.
sir.
Um. So there, and then uh, I just continued with learning more martial arts. Like I also uh, trained boxing because my dad was a former amateur boxer. So I like did 5 to 6 years of boxing, and I shifted to Muay Thai now. So
Ano pong paborito na sipa nyo? Kauloy? Yung tiger knee? Anong paboritong ano strike mo sa Muay Thai?
nakakapagod yun eh. Oh, I love my low kicks.
You love your low kicks. Kasi ano
Yeah,
pala
I love
kayo,
my low kicks.
malabuakaw.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, idol yon si Bacau.
Yeah. Tindi, no? He faced si ano, sino yun? Si Kido, and then now he did Sanchai, tapos ang susunod si Pacquiao pa. Damn, man, astig. Back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But
so nung
Senchai is also
So nung
really good.
ginawa niyo po yung Combatron, you're 17. To us anyway, it felt like because that would have been like early 90s, like 91, 92. It was like a hit right away, right? It's like a runaway hit.
Oh, not really on the yeah, I guess. But the way I see it is like this. No, the first episode came out. The first one was like March 29. That was the birthday of Combatron. And then when it came out, uh, after a week, there's a there's a there's a portion in the comics where fans draw their favorite characters, and it's called "This Is Your Page." So that's where you can gauge whether the character worked or whether the kids like your what you did. on the first weeks, I didn't see any drawings of Combatron, which made me like, okay, um, I guess they don't like my character. Um, but I really love what I'm doing, so I'll just keep on with it. And after a few weeks, it picked up after the third and the fifth week, and especially after the episode wherein I killed the Combatron's dog, which was Askal.
Pascal, yeah. Asong Kalye.
Yes, yeah, si Asong Kalye, or in this case, Asong Mechanical.
Yeah.
So I killed the dog, and it was a funny story because when my editor was looking at the story, and she was saying, Berlin, you know that the title of our comics is Funny Comics, but you just killed someone. This is so sad. It's not funny anymore. And then I just told her, Tita Rose, I think we also have a responsibility to, educate the kids about loss and how to deal with it. So I got away with that one.
Yeah, because
But
because because we
ever
were
since
wondering
that
because
one,
yeah, we were wondering because kung lumalaki ka, binabasa mo Planet of the Apes. You know what I mean? Those kind of things, and we
yeah,
were like, "Damn, you tackled so many heavy themes in your comic book. It wasn't funny."
yeah, it's because
Yeah.
I was also watching Voltes 5, which was during my time was really heavy, and it was really, you know, lots of main characters died there, like their dad, their mother of Mark.
Maniniwala ka, it wasn't until I went to the US, I'm already in my 30s when I found out what happened in the ending of Dimos. I literally waited 20 years to I was like I never saw like the ending. Like, you know what I mean? That was to find out that he dies in the end. Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it's because somebody, you know, uh, discontinued the super robots showing here in the Philippines. I wouldn't want to mention who that guy is,
Especially
but they're
now. So
back in
please
power.
don't I want you to be careful. I don't want anything happening to you, especially now.
Yeah, yeah.
Disidente magulang ko, I don't, please don't get in trouble. Um
We
uh,
won't.
yeah, so yun nga po yung tatanong namin kasi may nag-message po sa akin kahapon. Nung lumalaki sila, yung karamihan ng bata, it's not like they could buy comic books because a lot of times in some places in the Philippines, humihiram lang eh. Tapos minsan
Mm,
naghuhulugan pa, they would rent the comic to like read it, right? And then
yeah, yeah.
return it to the sari store. So a lot of people aren't aware when you had your initial run, hindi nyo natapos. Meaning like there was no ending, right? So a lot of people don't know that. Like a lot of people that were fans of your comics, like they're not aware of that. So ikwento niyo po sa akin kung ano po nangyari pa. What happened? Why did you have a long hiatus? And then what happened with Funny Comics?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, I didn't finish the story. It's because I had to work for real in an advertising agency, and it just took up my time. Uh, and that's when Funny Comics had to end it their way. So they ended it their way, but the fans knew that it wasn't my drawing, it wasn't my story. It's because it ended abruptly. And so it's just that, I owed it to the fans, especially when I had a hiatus because, yeah, I had to work for an advertising company. But I've always wanted to go back and finish it. I did so when uh, finally social media. Uh, I saw in social media that they were asking what happened to Combatron, what happened to me, Berlin Manalaysay, and why did it not end properly? And then what made me really come back is like I saw this guy, and his name is Win Encarnado. He was cosplaying Combatron, and it's not just the shabby cosplay version of Combatron. It was really really nice. It was like so beautiful. And then so I went back 2018 and had to finish it with a two-part comics. So now it is finished. But before, yeah, I had to discontinue because I had to work for real. What happened to Funny Comics? I guess it also the comics itself, the publishing, Las Islas Publishing had to discontinue because the owner Roses died, and with that, I think they had to discontinue. So wala na. Even the other stories were discontinued na rin.
What year was that when Funny Comics, went under?
Ah, I don't really. I forgot. I mean, I had to. I have to research on that one.
In
But
in
I think it's like um at the start of 2000. I think.
in in
Or
uh
nine.
i- in a sense of in the history of comic books, I can't think of many examples of such a long hiatus to find out the ending. That might, at least in Asian comics, that might yours might set a record
Yeah.
because what year did you stop? Like, was that 95, 97?
Yeah, 90, no, 97. Yeah,
97.
97.
Yeah, because that's when I
And
left
then
the
I went back
Philippines. Yeah.
2018.
So
Oh, okay.
because you stopped around the time that Princess Diana died, somewhere around there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you
There's no
didn't.
connection. I wasn't affected when she died.
Yeah, but
It was just
no, but you didn't finish the story until 21 years later. The
I finished it 28. I started the part one 2018, so it's like 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. Sorry.
And the second part two was 2020. So yeah,
So yeah, so like 20, 22, 23 years. So here's the thing. The only thing I
yeah.
can think of that's kind of equivalent of that in American comics is when people waited for the real identity of the first Hobgoblin in Spider-Man, which
Oh,
was Roderick Kingsley. That took what, like 13, 14 years for us to find out, because it was
oh, okay.
Romita Jr.'s first run in Spider-Man, and then we didn't find that out later until like 95, 97, somewhere around there. So it was like basically like
Oh.
80, 80, 83, something like that. So you daig nyo pa eh.
Well, I guess I wouldn't have, but with this with social media, it's just like they kept messaging me, and there were just my friends kept uh telling me that there's a thread dedicated to just Combatron and asking where you are. And so I there was one time that I joined one of those discussions, and I told them that I was going to be back, and um, I had to fulfill that promise. So I did,
No, no, and
and
that means a
I'm
lot to
back.
us, and means a lot to me. Pasensya na screw up yung timing ng interview na totally did not take into account daylight savings time over here, but
Oh,
you
it's
were a
okay.
big part of my childhood. The thing is, I left the Philippines in 97. I did not come back until 2018, so I was gone for 21 years. Um, the fondest memories I had was pupunta kami sa sari-sari store, pupunta kami sa bayan sa Malolos, and then I would pick up a copy of and putol-putol pa. So by the time I purchase one, it was already like
Yeah,
10 issues later, you know what I mean? So I have to fill
yeah,
in my head what happened to the story, right?
yeah.
And some of our most positive, memories is when we were children. And so when we see Combatron, we see the influences of what was popular when we were kids. There's obviously merong influence ni Atomo, Astro Boy. There's Transformers in
Yeah.
there. There's heavy metal music, but it
Yep.
felt distinctly Filipino. Kasi even pangalan niya si Empoy. Tapos yung
Yeah.
aso niya, asong kalye. And then his friends is
Yeah.
like distinctly have a very Filipino flavor. So para talagang halo-halo. It's like a
Yeah.
Filipino dish for real.
Yep,
And so we have
that's
to
what it is.
so we have to ask you because you were doing this as a 17-year-old drawing for 8 or 10-year-olds like me. So you weren't really that much older than us. You were just about 10 years ahead or something for like the kids that were
Yeah.
there was palaging sinusubaybayan yung adventures niya. What changed in your persona during the intervening time as an artist? Because I'm guessing, after you were done with Combatron, was your career had something to do with the arts or drafting or anything like that? Engineering, anything like that?
Oh
Did
yeah,
you?
I had to work for an advertising agency. So I had to draw like storyboards, think of uh commercials. So uh I made commercials for BDO, CDO, Green Cross, all those brands. And I mean, to see your drawings come to life in the TV screen is also kind of a nice high for me. Which was, when I think about it, it's the thing that I want to happen to Combatron. My illustration, my drawing, my creation, finally in in an animated feature. It's a dream of mine, and hopefully, I like you guys to pray for me. It's because there's an ongoing production for Combatron's animation, and I hope you guys pray for a speedy but beautiful production of the animation, which is hopefully be streaming in uh, the popular streaming sites that we have right now that I still cannot name.
Wow. I hope it
Yes.
does become like Trace. And obviously I can't mention that right here, but you know what I mean. You know what I
Oh, I
mean?
love Trece. Budget is my friend, and I'm really proud of that guy. He did really good.
And the thing is, I'm happy too that yung sariling atin, I mean, the problem with the fellow Filipinos is like nakita mo na maganda naging pang world class na tapos they nitpick the little things. You should be freaking happy. At least it made, worldwide people watching in Netflix was top 10 for like a couple weeks instead of complaining about
Yeah.
but masyadong ganito, but masyadong social. Batang kinuha na voice actor mestiza. It's like, dude, shut the hell up, man. You know what I mean?
Well,
That kind of crab mentality is terrible.
haters gonna hate,
Yeah, yeah.
but
I was looking. So here's the
that's
thing.
how it is.
We're gonna pray for you because I was really looking forward to the Kamagong anime. Unfortunately, COVID
Oh
19
yeah.
destroyed the
Mm,
production money that was supposed to go to that.
mm,
So I don't want the same thing
yeah.
happening. I want yours to make it in the streaming
Oh,
services.
thank you, thank you, thank
You
you,
know.
thank you.
So and here's the thing. If you have any flyers, I will have a panel in Los Angeles Comic Con this weekend about trickster entities and Hunter x Hunter and then the expanse as well. If you have any flyers or a QR code, give it to me so I can hand it to people.
Oh, sure, sure.
Yeah. So, i-continue ko po yung tanong concerning, we're gonna go that route of the question of how do you transition. That was a very transitionary period for you because you were 17 years old. You're starting your college, right? How did your
Mm.
persona change? And then how did it, along with your art, how did it influence your art? Because obviously the Combatron comes from the mind, a fertile mind of a young man, of a young kid.
Oh, okay,
How
okay.
how did that transition now as becoming the adult, the man that is Berlin Manalaysay? So continue, sir.
I well, I I I don't even know if I transitioned into like improving or something. I'm still the same kid. Uh, yeah, it's still the same influences: video games, wrestling. Well, now it's MMA. I I watch UFC, and I love it very much. And when it terms to art, syempre, it improved, di ba? Dahil uh, there's sort of more influences I had to integrate into my style. But more than that, when I had my own digital agency, I was opened up to other. media that could help in the experience of reading a comic book. And that's why when I started the part 2 of the ending of Combatron, I put in there something extra, which was an augmented reality feature of the comics. So when you download an app, which is Artivive, and then you focus it on the comics, the the artwork comes alive. So it kind of it kind of made my dreams of, when I was a kid and I'm trying to draw something, and I'd make this my own sound effects, and I'd imagine it moving like punching and stuff. Now I can I've done it with part 2 comics. And if if uh if you have it, if you haven't, I'll send you one. You
No,
have
I
to
didn't. I
like,
didn't know that there was a like a virtual or VR. No, totally not.
yes, it has an augmented reality feature that it's the first here in the Philippines. I don't know if the States has that, but it's a different experience, looking at
Sana
comics,
ma-bust out ko yung aking 6-year-old
moving it.
graphics card na 1080 Ti for that. Totally, totally. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking at my computer tower right now. That's the reason why I got you, buddy.
No, it doesn't need that kind of juice. You just need your phone, focus it on my comics, and it's gonna move.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it is awesome.
Hmm. That's
I don't know
spectacular.
if I can. Maybe I can like show you. I have my comics here right now. Maybe I can show you what it means. Here you go. So this is part 2. Okay, got the helmet, and you have to download Artivive. Can you see it? Artivive. And then when you focus it uh, on the comic book, let's see if it works. There.
Oh, wow. That is so insane.
Okay.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So that
How does it know to do that? Is there like a QR code hidden in the art?
no, the app is a image recognition app,
Da
and
daig nyo pa yun
it
dito
was
sa
like
Amerika?
it was. And I had a lot of help from my nephew Dan the Man Manalaysay. He helped me with and my brother, which is Norman Manalaysay. It's a family thing. They helped me with how to do the the animation and the stuff. There's actually there's a favorite page that I have here, which is one of the action scenes. I'll show you, because this is my favorite right here.
Oh, look, it's like wrestling.
Yeah, RKO. Yeah,
RKO out of nowhere.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Nung na-feature po kayo sa ano, and I feel pride in this because my cousin is basically the president of the programming schedule for GMA.
Yeah.
Si Cherry Domingo. Um,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I
she's my cousin.
remember
She's
her.
my cousin. She's my cousin. Um, so the thing is, I was so you have to understand yung mapupunta dito na balikbayan, uhaw na uhaw, because it reminds us of like our childhood. matagal na kaming hindi nakakauwi, that kind of thing. When I saw your episode, and then to know that there's so many Batang 90s or even late 80s na kids like me na they were looking forward, ano nangyari kay Combatron? And they were all searching for you. We kept you alive in our hearts because
Thank
the
you.
funny comics is like a big part of our childhood. We would read like Planet of the Apes. We would read Combatron. Palagi kami nakaantabay. It's like to the next thing. And what's funny is you were a kid when you were drawing that, and you didn't realize how big of an influence that you were having. Because we would talk about that in elementary school. Like, so we would be like, oh, nabasa mo ba yung bago? Kung ano na nangyari? And then namatay si ano, tas
Mm.
na-revive si Death Metal, you know what I mean? He was like sugatan, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
the thing is, you don't know what type of change in the stream you make when you live your life. So I do have to ask, just during that time, right, when Combatron was ending, the US animated companies were outsourcing a lot of their drawing. Like, for example, like the last seasons of X-Men, the animated show, a lot of it was drawn in the Philippines. Some of that. Did you know any of those people? Because I know
Uh,
that the artist community in the Philippines is quite insular. It's quite small, kind of everyone know everybody. So and then Wilsie Portacio went to the Philippines shortly after that in the late 90s, early
yes.
2000s.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it stayed there for like, a while, for several years. So tell me about that era of the late 90s, early 2000s time of like when America was outsourcing its animation to the Philippines, Lucy Portacio coming. Tell me about that. That was time of the ozone fire, that kind of thing. So tell
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
about that time.
Oh, that was an exciting part for Philippine artists during that time. Lalo na when Wills was here, and then he like had a project which was Stone, I think. And I even recall that it had a soundtrack, and most of my director friends was doing a project with Wills, doing the music videos for I think it was Voodoo Hoodoo that they did for that project. And um um most of the most of the artists which also worked for Funny Comics and now are now working for DC, the likes of Stephen Segovia is really popular. That guy, he's really good, and he used to do Tomas and Colas, which was like the version of Tom and Jerry in Funny Comics. But now he's the one doing the epic Batman covers and illustrations, and that time was really exciting. And it was you get a sense of pride to to see that these local guys, these Filipinos made it big in the States, and which makes you think like, okay, you want to dream like, okay, sana Combatron hits also the mainstream, or or hits the foreign market, even if it's so Filipino. It's because why do the animes uh, get to hit all the other markets by being so Japanese, right?
People lose that. In fact, that the secret is it's in its specificity. That's the
Yeah,
reason na kinahagat ng tao. The reason why people
mm,
like it is because its specificity, that it's inherently
yeah,
Japanese and inherently Filipino.
yeah,
So instead
yeah,
you feel ashamed, that is what you should concentrate on. The
yeah.
specificity is the hook, line, and sinker. Instead na gawin
That's
nilang
true.
more westernized, kagaguhan yun.
Mm. Ah,
Katarantaduhan yan. You know?
that's true.
What you need to do is
Kaya
to
yung
keep it
the Combatron
yourself.
animation that we're doing is going to be like that. It's going to be so Filipino that we don't care if you don't get it. It's Filipino culture. We're going to present it to you.
And I actually tagged in our call Joe Arciaga, which is basically the creator of Diwata Comics, which is one of the first, if not
Oh
the
yeah.
first, Filipino-owned comics publishing house in the U.S. There's two now.
Mm.
There's Cuento Comics, which is inherently based in Chicago, even though the printing press is in LA. So that's Filipino-owned, operated, drawn Filipino comic publishing house is Cuento is one, and then Diwata, which is another one. There's two now in the U.S. And because
Galing.
for the longest time, ang problema sa atin when it comes to the comic book industry, the Filipinos are known as the inkers, doing the hard work, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Lagi tayong alipores. Tayo naman yung nagpapaganda nung comics nila eh. Para lagi na lang yung asungot. They had the idea of like, no, we got to start our own. We cannot just lean in the legacy of Manong Alex and Alfredo Alcala, Nestor Redondo, and those guys of that particular wave. We have to own our own art. So we'll see. And those guys, they had the right idea of they leaving Marvel, DC, and starting their own with Image with Jim
Yeah.
Lee. That's what we should try to do, right? And when you were having your early adulthood, when Wilsie came, didn't y'all hang out with the yung Punkista and Ronkista? Because wasn't he good friends with with the Eraserheads and Wolfgang and all those
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah. Yeah. He was. He was. And I that's why he had a music video with those guys. And one of my director friends actually directed it. And he, if you search Voodoo Hoodoo, that's a project that Wilsey did with Matthew Rosen.
That's spectacular. That's
Yeah.
tumataba ang puso ko when I hear these things, and when I get questions in my DM, it's like ano po nangyari sa inyo, Berlin? Where have you been this whole time? He never left. It's just like the world just kind of moved on. He's still doing something with his talent. He's working like in the ad agencies or whatnot.
Yeah.
But now he went back to comics. And that's actually what I was
Yeah.
going to ask you concerning that is do you have an exclusive deal with the publishing houses in the Philippines? Because if we can get you featured in like a Filipino owned comics publishing house, would you BO down with reprints of Combatron in the American market?
No, sure. Well, actually, what happened when I came back, the mood and tone of that time was that print was dead. So I wanted to make a statement that it wasn't. So I went back at the time that they said that print was dead, and I published it myself. I didn't have a publisher. It's just uh, I marketed myself online, and then I had to print it myself. It's a good thing that I am friends with the Ludus distributors. They actually did a card game of Combatron, and they had a really big Magic the Gathering event that I rode in that event, and they made me a feature like this is a Magic event, but it's also a launch of the Combatron ending comeback of Berlin Manalaysay. And we did it in Glorieta in Makati, and it was awesome seeing uh fans that kept telling me what you were telling me, like Berlin, I'm really happy that you were a part of my childhood. Now that I'm a dad, I want my kids to know about Combatron. Now I have money, do something and I'll buy it. Something like that, to that effect.
Tumataba din po ang puso ko. Ang suot nyo, Venom gloves. That's awesome.
Yes. I came prepared for the interview, I see.
So yung pong besides Muay, nagmo-modern pa rin po kayo? Nagmo-modern pa rin kayo? Nag-modern arnis pa rin? O kumbatan?
No, 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 no. But I'd like to go back because one of my friends right now, which is see JJ, if you're watching, he wants me to go back because he's into arnis and knife fighting. So he wants to get me into knife fighting, which I'm kind of curious about that one. Having knives and like being
Tsaka maganda po
those
'yun para
plastic knives hurt
yung
too,
pong sa
right?
future na art nyo ma-influence uli ng FMA. Para
Yes,
may
yes.
FMA
That's
segment
usually
uli.
what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
tatanong ko lang po, yung mga gawa na toys sa Pilipinas para yung pong Chogokin, are they die-cast metal? I see death metal behind you.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah. Yeah. It's 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 plastic.
Na we wanna see,
It's
like we wanna
plastic.
see kasi maganda yung
Sure,
detail, eh.
sure. Sure. I'll get it for you. Uh, this one is really big. There you go.
Wow,
Nice, right?
that's awesome. It's like it has
This
art full
this was made
articulation?
by, yeah. Not really full. This one is has the full articulation. This was done by Toy Sack, and this is the toy that's being featured right now. And
When you stand death metal and Empoy Combatron together, is that a 1-to-1 size differential? Is that really like their size in when you draw them in the universe?
no, this one is made because this was made by different
So
companies.
based on
It was
death
made by
metal's
Toy
height,
Sack. This
how
is
big is
Galar.
Combatron compared to him in the
Oh,
universe?
I'll get the other toy. That's oh, it's this one. So it's kind of like this one. So up to his waist. Yes.
Maliit lang siya.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't opened this one yet. Want me to open it? Yeah, I'll open it for you.
Sure, we'll have an unboxing live. That's awesome.
Unboxing.
Ganda
Oh,
pulido.
yeah. There you go.
Pulido. Bihasa yung pagkakagawa, eh. Ayos.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, see, it's got
So
that super chibi type of
yeah.
thing, even his mouth.
Yep.
Oh,
So
wow.
there. So up to his waist. This is accurate. This is how it is.
That's awesome. Yeah, astig kasi kita mo rin yung influence ni Undertaker do sa boots ni Death Metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And he has this cape type of thing going on in the background. So the thing is like nung nangyari na yan that was like a chapter in your life and basically this obviously you revisited by doing the end. What type of artistic endeavors did you do in between? Was there other creative intellectual properties that you came up with during that time? Prior to the ending of Combatron in 97 and then you did the ending part 1 and 2 in 2018, 2020. Para bang kamukha kayo ni Kentaro Miura besides Berserk. I mean, obviously he had like another, thing. And same thing with Toriyama. Obviously he has a Dragon Ball, but he has other creative endeavors. So explain if there were other intellectual properties that you came up with during that, intervening era.
Um. Well, I have other stuff, but that I haven't published yet. Still in the works that I'd love, um because my kids are into the arts also. I'd love them to like have a go at some of my ideas, and then also my nieces, um but they're not yet into circulation. There was one one project I did during the COVID season when I just felt that I had to, you know, entertain people during that time. So I had Pancho. That was the name of the character, and it was online, um, and people read it. The concept was you can control the story, the outcome. So I was doing the story, and then at the end of the of each episode, you will be asked what will happen. What what the main character would do to influence what's gonna happen to the next issue. So it's
So
it's
tanong,
online.
ang format parang
Yeah.
choose your own adventure type of thing.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome.
It is. And
Ano
if you
pong
wanna,
title? Ano pong title?
Pancho,
Pancho.
yeah, the toughest kid in the universe. So if you wanna read about it, it's in Berlin Manalaysay Storyteller. Just look for it in Facebook, um, and it's all there, compiled. All the whole story was there.
Berlin Manalay. Pwede ko pong ano, can I do screen share?
Sure,
Yeah, let's
Storyteller by Berlin Manalaysay, and it's
let
there.
me see if share screen. Um
Oh, I'm out of whiskey.
okay, share screen right there. Yan. Guys,
Yeah,
that's
that
the
one.
site.
Yep,
So
yep.
please, please go to that. And the thing is, I'm kind of happy. Well, I'm not. I feel ashamed that I'm late for this interview because we didn't take into account daylight savings time. But I'm kind of happy at the same time because now most people will not watch the Facebook one. Most people will watch the YouTube video. So that's better.
Okay, cool.
Because
All right.
some Filipinos in the diaspora, whether you believe it or not, some of them don't have Facebook because in some countries Facebook is heavily regulated.
Okay.
So, oh, that's
Oh, right now
awesome.
what's featured is a death metal. Uh, yeah, it's a death metal series.
Ang ganda. Oh, my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah,
Si Axel. Ano pong ginagamit niyo doon para ano to, 3D render from Blender? That kind of looks like a 3D render right there.
yeah.
Uh,
That's
so
that one's from Kalel Collectibles.
so when it comes to
They're the ones who did that.
online tools, what do you use now as your main online tool? Do you use like Cinema 4D, Blender,
Oh
anything like
no,
that?
just
Adobe?
yeah, just Adobe Sketch. That's just the thing I use. Everything's like uh, little Photoshop maybe, but that's mostly just Sketch.
Ang ganda. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to
yeah.
this. I'm not aware of this actually, that there was this comic book store Facebook group, Berlin Manalaysay Storyteller. So guys, that's
Yeah,
what.
I just did that for the COVID, so that I could like entertain most of my fans who were like, they really appreciated it. It kept us sane during those crazy times.
Gaganda eh. Gaganda ng mga photo nyo.
Yeah.
So you have a general idea of what it looks like. So please read. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just stop the screen share. I'm very glad that you agreed in this interview, and sorry po napahiya kayo. I apologize that you came in late.
Hey, stop apologizing. It's okay. It's cool.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't know there was daylight savings time,
show
and I
us
was drinking, so it's okay.
show us your T-shirt.
Oh, yep. This was done by Loyal. See,
Oh wow! So now we have like a 3D
cross
print of what he looks
section.
like under the armor.
Yes.
Okay,
Uh,
that's
Adam. It's an Adam homage thing.
yeah,
He
Atomo.
he has that right.
Yeah, he does that. And then there's a new kind of like a take on Atomo. It's called Pluto.
Oh yeah, I watched it. I watched it. I love that episode of Adam. It's the title of that one is the what's that, the most powerful robot
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
world. I think that was the
May tinanong yung
miniseries
ibang
and
ano natin because it's almost like you're going like in the multiversal type of route or stories in told in different perspective with death metal.
yeah.
Meron ba pong continuation si Combatron? Is one of the questions I got. from one of the viewers. And how would you want
Oh
to answer
yes,
that?
yes. It's actually all tied up. All the projects that I've been doing, from the comics to the online, and um, going to the animation. And that's why there should have been a timing for that one. When I was doing the death metal online comics, it was in timing to the animation that we were going to produce. But since there's hiccups right now in the production of the animation, I'm timing it so that the online will finish um, when animation starts. So it's because uh it's the natural progression that I'm thinking of is from comics. When the comics ends, online begins, and then after online, the animation. So that's actually my plan into integrating the continuity of the story.
Maganda pong
So
pag-iisip yun because the kind of death
hence animation becomes a reboot.
because the problem is for some manga and comic artists that becomes the death knell of their work because what ends up happening is when it get adapted, sometimes the animation catches up to the manga or comics and then that kind of
Yeah,
ruins the story. So that's very smart of you to
yeah,
do that. The
yeah. I
animation is the
wouldn't.
continuation.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I wouldn't want the animation to be just a retelling of what the comics is. Because if you want to know what the comics was, you can just look at it online. There's a blog spot that has it compiled. And also I'll be having a project of the omnibus. We'll be coming out with an omnibus book of all the stories in funny comics compiled.
Now
Um
the other question I got, from my DMs. Sorry about that because I have to ask this because
okay, cool.
while we're live and getting kaya ako patingin ng tingin ng sa ano eh. That's why I keep on going like that in my
Yeah, I
interview.
can see. Okay.
The other FMA during that era that we see in Filipino comics is Mascarado, which was in Tempo magazine,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us about your contemporaries, in Filipino comics that also practice Filipino martial arts, and if you know any of them.
Hmm. Um, I don't really know if they were. I don't. I'm not that close to them. If I like to know if they were practicing martial arts. It's just what I know is what I do. I have to consult people who know martial arts in order before I do like action sequence and stuff. Like why should how to properly draw an armbar on a robot or something. What if it's bigger? I mean, is it gonna be possible to armbar someone who's bigger, a big robot or something? Or is he just gonna smash you like that if you do the armbar? Um, I'm not aware if there are other artists that I know or my contemporaries, if they're into martial arts. There's one guy which is my friend is Michael Andaya, the 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 basis of where I designed Axel, which was he's into what's that the Korean martial arts,
Taekwondo,
uh
Tang Sudo.
Taekwondo, yeah,
Uh-huh.
kicks, yeah. So that guy, because he drew Star Kid in Funny Comics. I
Oh,
recruited him. Yeah, I
so here's the thing:
recruited.
you recruited him, or he recruited him?
I recruited him to draw for Funny Comics because there was another vacancy, a three-pager vacancy. So, ang galing, yung mga friends ko rin from college that wanted to do what I was doing and like earn a few bucks. out of out of drawing. So I brought them in, and they had a kick at it.
It's awesome.
So yeah, Axel is Michael Andaya is also the creator of Starkid. Victor Starkid. Okay.
Yung pong mga kasama nyo, yung naggumawa ng Nick Knock tsaka yung Planet of the Apes, are you still friends with them till this day?
Yes. At, lalo na si Michael Oñate, si Little Ninja, even if he's in Canada right now. Okay, and still a lot of people are asking when is he gonna end it too, because he also had fans here in the Philippines. Uh, but I don't know if he wants to like go back at doing stuff like that again.
Yung pong generation nyo, kasi they look up to yung mga generation ni Manong Alex, Manong Nestor Redondo, Manong Alfredo
Mm.
Alcala. They were kind of like the scions they carried the banner for us, for our race. Not just in the US, but the West. And the people that were reading American comics in Italy, they're like, wow, that's really cool, right? And even yung mga kamukha ni Moebius, yung kaibigan ni Manong Alex si Moebius eh.
Mm.
Do you speak with any of them, or any people from that circle? Do they know? Because I know that that generation is pretty much mostly gone and dead. But during that time that you were drawing comic books, they were still alive. Um, did anybody that worked in Funny Comics have any interface with the Filipino wave artists?
Um, um, Barely, but there was one time that I remember. I had a talk with the legend Ronnie Santiago, the
Ronnie
one
Sunset.
who was,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
creator of Planet of the Apes. And you know how it is when you see your idols face to face, like, right? When you're just like, okay, hi, and you're like, hello po, hello, idol ko po kayo. That's the only thing I said, and he was like, ikaw si ikaw si Combatron. That's what he said. Bata mo pa pala, no? So that's the only interaction that we had,
So
but
para po
I
sumabog yung
enjoyed it.
puso nyo when you heard that because he knows your work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
For
great.
me to be, yeah, for me to be, to be mentioned by my idol, okay na yun eh, sa akin.
Tumaba din po
I
ang
was
puso ko
like,
because I was invited to the Eisner. So Eisner, for people that don't know in the Philippine comics industry in the Philippines, is kind of like the Oscars of comic books. They hold that every year, and they always hold it typically in the second day of Comic Con. So it's typically fall on a Friday or Saturday,
oh,
usually, right?
okay.
Second or third day. So it's usually at night, and they host it from like 8 o'clock to maybe like 10 or 11 or whatnot. When they inducted Manong Tony de Zuniga in the Comic Book Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
it was this year. It was this year that it happened. Man, it was hard to see like um a dry eye in the room, particularly for us that are involved in the comic book industry here, because like even non-Filipinos, they really look up to that guy, because Jonah Hex,
Galing.
right,
Mm,
and
mm.
a lot of them were very central. Obviously the Filipino wave, they were all competitive against each other, right, but they had love for each other. It wasn't a
Yes,
crab
yes.
type of mentality. They really were trying to help each other out, during that time. And because it was a rough time, kasi dadala ka ng Marvel or DC dito, pero ang bayad sa'yo, kuripot pa rin compared to what the
Yeah.
other non-Filipino artists were making, you know. So the thing is, when I hear stuff like that, it makes me feel good because I'm involved in the industry. So, not as an artist, but with geekdom essentially. So, so it's good to go. So ngayon po, yung po ang project na tinatrabaho nyo. Basically, the interface of Combatron for the next generation is more 3D, more online, more virtual, right?
And the animation.
And right now, obviously, because you probably signed an NDA, you cannot talk to what streaming service is going to get shown to, right?
Yeah, yeah, not yet.
That's okay. That's okay. We're looking forward to that, and I hope that,
Yeah.
like Trace, it blows up because Trace was like in the top 10 for a while, for like several weeks.
Yeah.
So people, even non-Filipinos were watching that. So you
Yeah, it
know,
was a proud moment for me.
yeah, because basically
Yeah.
it's really the first work that highlighted like Philippine lower mythology as like the
Yeah.
the central circus access point of the story, while in your sense, Combatron is an amalgam of Batang 90s and Batang 80s
Yeah.
like popular culture.
Like
It,
what you said, it's a halo-halo.
it encapsulated in one thing. That's the reason why it was so enticing and fruitful, because bata ka,
Yeah.
nanonood ka ng wrestling. Alam mo si ato mo. Tapos yung mga kuya mo nakikinig sa death metal music. And
Yeah.
then naglalaro ka ng Holen, Jack Empoy, tsaka yung trompo. And then you see this
Yeah.
kid, tas meron siyang asong kalye, and then he's very, very distinctly Filipino, nakasando, right? And it's just spectacular, So when you're buying that from the sari store in your local corner, like you saw yourself, you empathized. Not even as a guy, because there's a girl character, that's his girlfriend there, right? Um, you empathize to what you saw. And the thing is, you didn't have to go to just read Spider-Man. You could also have your local version in that intellectual property. So Manong, Mang Berlin, marami pong salamat dito sa interview na ito. Meron ba po kayong
Thank you.
tanong sa amin? Kasi the final section of our interview, I have to do a rapid fire to ask you, like, you just have to, para bang blue or red, parang ganun. Just do like a quick type of thing. But before we do
Oh.
that, do you want to just promote, share, talk about something? Go ahead. The floor is yours, sir. Mang Berlin. Go ahead.
Oh, right now I just want prayers from all of you for the production of the animation of Combatron. It's because right now that's what I dream of, and dreams do come true. That's it.
Um, So tanong ko po, nung bago natin i-forward yung mga rapid fire na tanong. I got another question from somebody. I'm just trying to type it out.
Okay.
Nung pong okay. You try to read this. Okay. When you were 17 years old and you did the first episodes of the first issues of Combatron, did any of your contemporaries recognize it right away or make fun of you? Did you score any chicks? I'm sorry. Gago, wag mo tinatanong yan. I'm sorry about that. You
Well, scoring chicks, yeah, maybe. Uh, I guess I guess some of my classmates were impressed that I was a working student during that time. So yeah, maybe it helped, kind of. Yeah, and my contemporaries. What's the question? If they like recognized if it was Rockman
No, yung
or something?
contemporaries
What?
niyo po nung naging mas popular ba kayo when when it took off? Like did your set of friends is just like, did you pick up new friends because of that? Because you
Oh
gain a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of fame and
definitely. Yeah, yeah,
you know.
most definitely. Uh, they're like, uh, they were like even amazed that that was me, and because he goes to Berlin Manalaysay. I thought he was like a 6 foot rocker with long hair, and then finally they met me. It was like, okay, that was you. So disappointing. But that was a true story. My brother actually was buying from a store, and there was these kids talking about Combatron, and this particular guy was saying, si Berlin Manalaysay, barkada ko yun eh. Rocker yun, 6 footer yun, mahaba buhok. And then my brother looked at this guy, and I don't even know this guy who was talking about my brother. So he's definitely lying. And yeah, also remember at the first time there was a Comic Con in the Philippines, and it was held in UP, and I was invited as a guest, and I went there, and I talked in front of the stage, and I could like hear people saying, "Huh, Berlin ba yan? Ba't ang liit?" Mga ganun sila. They actually think maybe that I was like maybe taller, could be taller
So
or
UST po
older.
kayo, hindi po kayo UP, UST kayo.
Yeah, I'm UST ako.
Magulang ko rin,
Kaka! Woo!
yeah, magulang ko rin UST po eh.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
UST.
ready na
Uste,
ba po
uste,
kayo sa
uste.
rapid fire na mga tanong?
Yeah, and that's why I wore my gloves.
Okay, sige po. Sisig
Make
or
it a tradition for all
no, yeah,
your guests.
I do make, I'm gonna try to make it a tradition. Yeah. So, ito po yung listahan. Sisig or adobo?
Sisig. Oh, wait! Adobo! Oh my gosh. Adobo.
Transformers or Voltes 5?
Voltes 5.
K-drama or J-drama?
K-drama.
Halo Halo or Ube?
Halo-halo.
Facebook or MySpace?
Facebook.
TikTok or Snapchat?
TikTok.
Funny Comics or Liwayway?
Liwayway. Funny Comics.
Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Netflix. Oop. Okay.
Tutuban or SM?
Oh, Tutuban.
Comics or anime?
Ooh. Anime. Right now, it's anime.
Nice anime. So, Mang Berlin, maraming pong salamat. And thank you for, gracing me with your time. And it means a lot, because the thing is, I can't believe like when things like this, like, my idols when I was like si Monsur, we interviewed him. And then si Monsur del
Yeah,
Rosario.
I saw your guests. Ako yata yung pinaka walang kwenta na martial
No,
artist.
you don't understand. In your era, in your generation, and I don't mean this as a diss for that era, but you are kind of like the Manong Nestor, the Manong Alfredo, the Manong Alex, because you carried the torch. You were among the torch bearers. When a lot of those people left, it wasn't just kind of a brain drain in the Filipino comics industry. People were asking what's going to happen next because who was going to take over, right? And it was in your generation that happened with Mr. Paul Medina and you. Basically, to
Yes,
me, when it comes to
definitely.
like
Paul
the late
Medina.
80s, early 90s, if you think of intellectual property that captured the zeitgeist of the Filipino mind, it really was Pugad Baboy and Combatron. Like, for kids anyway, right? Him is more
And
more like
Paul Medina is still at it.
him when it comes
He
to
hasn't.
more early adult, more
Yeah.
adultic content. But when it comes to little children and tweens, basically it was the two of you, So the thing is like, no, don't say that, sir, because there's milyon na bata na Pilipino think fondly of those times, those memories that they're, on a
Thank you.
Saturday
Thank you.
afternoon, they're reading. And they're like, wow, ganun pala nangyari. Naku, ano nangyari kay Combatron? Oh, patay na si Askal, right? It meant a lot. You taught us loss, So thank you, sir. And I gotta sign off to June and Paul show. And unfortunately, there's no June, there's no Paul because they're in Florida and we're separated by time zones. And
Okay.
this is JV signing off.